Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world, all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with the band Dead Vinyl. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of everything, I wanted to kind of start at the beginning of your musical journey. So, to each of you, what is your earliest musical memory?
Well, I've had music in my life for pretty much as long as I can remember things. My grandfather is a steel guitar player who played with Hank Thompson, who's kind of like a Texas country swing guy from way back when. And so I've just always had country swing music, around my life for a long time. And yeah, basically as far back as I can remember, just always being surrounded by it and stuff. So,
I was I guess I had kind of a different musical background. Like my mom was really into musical theater and did a lot of theater productions, and she tried to get us into that too, which I guess we weren't terrible at, but it wasn't necessarily for me. But and I was raised really Christian, and we would go to church every Sunday, and we'd have a worship band playing, and it would be like, full 4-piece band and like younger dudes, so they would all play pretty loud. And I was like, that's really cool, I want to do that. And then I eventually talked my dad into getting me a bass guitar because they needed a bass player, and then taught myself how to play. And eventually learned about rock and roll, but that was like how I got into it.
Hayden, I'm going to go to you real quick because you're the vocalist. Did you ever grow up having like vocal training, or are you just completely self-taught on that? Because you have a killer voice.
Oh, thanks, man.
No problem.
No, like any kind of scholarly training with the whole thing. I never went to like school for it or anything. But my mom was always a singer growing up, and so she was always singing, and I guess I kind of just caught on to that and decided that was going to be something I wanted to do as well, and so I just I don't know, I guess no kind of classical training, no, just completely off of my mom, who is
just really cool moms.
Yeah. And coming from that musical background, she definitely was very regimented with her thing, but just still trying to teach me. Yeah.
Were you guys in bands before Dead Vinyl? Because with your musical background, I can't help but feel like there were some bands that maybe you were in high school, or like some bands that you were before this. I don't know. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty
Zach,
accurate.
This one.
I'm not really sure which of us has been in the most bands at this point, but like in high school, kind of at the end of high school, I was in a band, and I've been in a whole bunch of bands since then, basically, and like all of them kind of didn't really amount to anything necessarily up until the point that I started a band called Panic Volcanic, and then we ended up playing a show with Hayden's band at the time, which was the Frisky Disco.
The Frisky Disco.
Two catchy names.
And like we became friends because we like played a cover of a Dead Weather song, and they knew the lyrics, so they were singing it with us. And then they invited us to go to a party with them right after that.
Yeah. That show was so magical. It was just like this instant connection with another band, and just being like, that's what we should be doing. That's how we should play the music. That's awesome. Let's go be friends with those guys. Like, it was pretty instantaneous. It was great.
That was going to kind of be my next question, is how exactly did you guys all meet? So you kind of explained how you two met, but how did you guys meet the rest of the guys in the band?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, you should start with you and Tyler.
So Tyler's the guitar player, Tyler Vela. He and I go way back from high school and stuff like that, and we were in bands together in high school and different things.
Guppies.
The Holy Mothership, the Guppies, and then into the Sweets, and all these different bands that never really took off or really did much, but got our feet wet. And we went to a high school in Arlington, Texas, which is kind of like the diagram of the place we live I showed you before is kind of the middle of in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And so growing up, we were like, well, we either probably got to go to Dallas or Fort Worth, got to move to one of them to try to take off this music career. And all of the stuff we heard out of Dallas was pretty good, but the stuff we heard coming out of Fort Worth was just awesome, killer bands out there. The live shows were just way more enriching and like involving. And so as soon as we got out of high school, he and I pretty much packed up and moved to Fort Worth to start a band called the Frisky Disco, where I played drums and I sang, and Tyler played guitar. We were just a two-piece and just taking on the world, you know. And we had gotten some small recognition from the town, and in that way we added a bass player who was our buddy Johnny, who came in and decided he was going to play bass, and then we were a three-piece for like a year or two.
Until the whole Panic Volcanic thing happened.
Until the Panic Volcanic show where we met Zach and his three-piece band. So three-piece band. One of them has a just bass player, singer, drummer, and the other one has drummer, singer, guitar player, bass player. So two very odd combinations of a three-piece. Neither of them traditional.
And then like
this.
Parker was our drummer was in another band called Animal Spirit, and like I ended up getting pulled into that band, and then they started to fall apart. And so I was like, but we had been on so many tours, I was like, all right, Parker, you could just come join Dead Vinyl with us. And it's been awesome ever since that, honestly. We were just struggling with people before we brought Parker into the band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were.
In your mind, when exactly did Dead Vinyl start? Because it sounded like it was a really natural progression, how you guys met, but like, did you guys all get together and like, we need to make a group, or was it like the groups just kind of slowly morphed and it just kind of happened?
Well, it's... so, I mean, we were in the Frisky Disco together, and then that we all kind of agreed needed to end at a certain point.
Yeah.
And so as it was ending, Tyler messaged me and was like, I've heard of this really cool band called Rain Wolf, and like showed me some videos, and he was like,
man,
I want to start something like this with you. And then this other guy who was the drummer in another local band that I was in called Sonic Buffalo, his name was Val, and so we got together and started writing songs, and we auditioned a bunch of singers, and then none of them could really keep up. And then we were finally like, all right, we know who needs to be our singer, let's just call him. And so we called Hayden, and obviously that was like the perfect fit, like right away.
Yeah.
And then
it felt good.
Yeah. And obviously we knew we were in the right direction there, and then Val decided he wanted to play guitar instead of drums, and so we auditioned some other drummers, and that wasn't really working out either. And so
we must have went through 6 months of steady show playing, but like a different drummer at every show. It was
you guys are like
crazy.
Spinal Tap.
Just like, and we had friends that played drums that would be like, look, I don't want to be in your band, but you guys are, so I'll just like sit in with you for tonight or whatever. We'd be like, great, we don't have a drummer, so we need that.
It was fun.
The universe then gifted us Parker Anderson, the great Parker Anderson, and he was such a joy to have in the band when we finally got him, because he has such a better business acumen than Tyler and I, who were kind of trying to hold the band together but couldn't really do it. And it's, to manage a band and then also write songs in a band is a hard balance. And Parker just has a good mind for that stuff. He's very business oriented, he can take care of that for us.
Don't lay back the salary. Don't you succumb to the words of a handsome feeding me for someone else.
The name Dead Vinyl, how exactly did you guys come across that name?
Tyler thought of it.
Yeah. Before Hayden was actually in the band, we were just starting Dead Vinyl, and we were going to play this thing in Fort Worth called the Fort Worth Rock Assembly, where they take local established bands and then they have them like pick another band and they play a cover set of that band's songs. And so we wanted to play a set of Led Zeppelin songs, but we weren't an established band yet. We had just started. So
the first show.
Yeah, we staged a secret show and invited the people that run the Fort Worth Rock Assembly to come and watch us play so that we could play Led Zeppelin at the Rock Assembly. And that actually went really well. We played like 2 Led Zeppelin songs and like 3 originals, and they were like, that was awesome. Yeah, you could totally do it. I'm like, yes. And like at the time we thought we were going to be called the Sweet Rides. Like that was the name we'd agreed upon. Tyler just kind of picked the band name without telling anybody, like changed it basically.
That's right.
Wrote Dead Vinyl on the demos and then handed them out to everybody that was at the show without telling us. And so we found out after the show that our band name was actually Dead Vinyl.
They're both cool names. Sweet Rides, I imagine, is from the Zildjian symbol, the Sweet Ride.
Exactly.
What? Nice.
Yeah.
Points to you, Mr. Isaac.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You guys obviously are all very good friends, which is very good to see in a band. Sometimes, you don't always see that in bands. It's either like one guy and 3 guys that just kind of there that need money, or it's like they all hate each other, or it's just like friends that are helping out friends, but they can't really play. Like you guys can all play. You guys are all really good friends. You guys have a really great personalities. What's your songwriting process like? Do you guys tend to get together and write things together, or do you tend to just bring things to the table individually?
It's probably a little both, mostly, I think. A lot of our songwriting, I think, comes just organically from... We practice twice a week, every week, for as long as the band's been together. And so, we end up with a lot of jam time, and a lot of it just happens really organically in the moment. And then we'll kind of come up with lyrics and stuff later.
Yeah, that's like what happens like probably half the time, and then the other half is like Hayden or Tyler will on their own come up with something, or sometimes it'll be me or Parker, but usually it's Hayden or Tyler, and then they'll bring it to us and be like, here's this thing I wrote. And Hayden even recently wrote like 2 albums worth of songs, like while we were all at this house living together over the last like 3 years. And they're all really good too. And we've
tried to use my pandemic well,
Yeah, like we've only played a few of them as a band, but hopefully we'll get to play some more. They're all really good.
Hayden, this one is mostly for you because you sing. When you write your lyrics, do you tend to write things from like an experiential standpoint, or do you tend to write things from like just for phonetics, or do you tend to go for like a crafted narrative? I don't know. How exactly do you go about doing that? Or do you have
I love phonetics. Phonetics is one of my favorite things about singing, for sure. The way that certain words sound together, alliteration and all that stuff. I love playing with words like that. Usually I need just one little tag of a line with that good phonetics feel. And then I can maybe try to write a narrative around that, or sometimes we'll just even sit together. We used to all live together for so many years, and I would even just like sit around with them and be like, what do you guys want to write a song about? It's going to be like time traveling space cowboy or something like that. Like we can write about whatever. I don't think I write a lot of really personal stuff for Dead Vinyl. I think a lot of Dead Vinyl is more like just fun narratives and trying to push messages of like love and unity and stuff like that, and togetherness,
As we mentioned before, you guys are in Fort Worth, Texas, which is kind of, you described to me, it's pretty close to Dallas. It's kind of like right in the heart of where the music scene is in that area.
Right.
And you described how cool it was for you, kind of your music. Do you have a most memorable show in your hometown that you can remember?
I'm going to have to probably say, just because it was so recent, like the going away show that we played for our buddy Cole, who was my drummer in Panic Volcanic. That was probably, man, that place was completely packed. Like,
it was so packed, and everybody was just crying.
Just wild. Yeah.
We played.
Emotions were everywhere.
You got a friend in me, but
Yeah.
from the Toy Story movies. Oh, it was great. Everybody was just crying. Yeah, that was a very memorable show for sure. I would say my most memorable shows with Dead Vinyl are always the ones on the road. When we get out on the road, we always tend to find ourselves in some sort of trouble or something. We tend to.
That's why it's so hard to decide.
It's trouble just gravitates towards us sometimes, and I think one of my favorite shows was we did a Midwest tour last year, and we had found ourselves in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the venue that we thought was a venue. Turned out it was just a this like art installation piece or something like that. We ended up playing on this stage in this kind of reinvented office space where the cubicles were like artists could come in and decorate each cubicle. And so you walk around this venue and there's like a little tiny bar that's only selling beer and it's cash only. And then there's just weird art everywhere. It was so crazy. But yeah, that was an interesting show. I think about 10 people came in total, but it was just such a cool place to play, I think it was called Healers.
Healers, that's right. I was trying to think of what it was called.
Sculpture artists, painters, all sorts of art just melding together like that and just being a part of it, being the music part of that. It was really interesting.
This one's a little bit off the music a little bit. If you guys weren't playing music, what would you be doing?
Killing bugs, I guess. I know that sounds weird to see someone who doesn't know me, but for my day job, I do pest control, and I would probably still end up doing pest control for a day job. So, okay. You know what? I changed my answer. Making movies. I want to make movies.
That's the answer. Making a movie about killing bugs.
Movies.
That was lame.
I mean, so since the pandemic started, we obviously couldn't play live shows, so we started doing a live stream every week, and we learned a whole lot of stuff. And then me and the drummer Parker Anderson and our producer / camera guy Aaron Haskin decided to start like this basically business doing live streams for people called Live From Anywhere. And so that's what we're doing right now. Like, I'm using my audio engineer experience because that was something that I used to do. And I almost said that, but then thought about what we're doing with Live From Anywhere. Like, that would be the other thing, I guess, which is kind of like making movies, but doing live streams for local artists or any kind of event, really.
So your new EP, what was the process of recording that record like? Did you guys have these songs for a while and like kind of knocked them out in a studio environment? Did you like track it yourselves or like, I don't know. This differs for everybody and I'm curious to hear it.
It's called Tierney Hall because that was the name of the house that we lived in for the last 3 years and where we wrote all those songs. And technically we recorded the first versions of them there too, because we had built our practice space into a recording studio. And we basically the process for those was after we like wrote them, we were like, okay, we want this to sound way better than anything else we've done. So first we're going to practice everything to a metronome, like a lot. And then we're all going to wear headphones while we do this all the time so we can all hear everything that we're all doing. And so we kind of like buckled down and we pre-pro'd out these songs. And for half of them, we got our buddy Nolan Ryan Robertson from the Hendersons to help us with kind of like the recording process and then the rewriting process. Just being like, okay, right here, there should be something else going on, or we need to add another section here. And we even have a song that's not out yet called Following You that he helped us write the chorus for, because originally it just didn't even have a chorus. And then he was like,
that's right. I forgot that song didn't have a chorus.
Right? Yeah. So he made that happen for us and a lot of other stuff on this record. And then the other half of the songs have guest keys player Sammy Powell from the Westernauts.
Western Youth is his band.
Oh, I'm sorry, Western Youth. That's right.
Western Youth, yeah.
Yeah, he was a crazy awesome keys player. But
yeah,
we pre-pro'd out all the songs at home in the house that we lived in, and then we went out to Audio Styles in Dripping Springs, Texas, which is like right outside Austin. And Taylor Tatch, who's this awesome producer and musician, recorded them all at the studio that he has out there on his ranch, basically. And
it's a really cool place to go record music.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like really times that we went out there, because we had to do it in chunks. Like we did 3 songs one time and then 3 the next time.
Right.
Well, how can people find the songs as they come out?
Well, right now we're actually getting them out onto everything. Like YouTube's taken a little bit longer than we thought for some reason. But every like streaming platform and even Bandcamp, they're on there.
Spotify,
Apple Music, Spotify. Yeah, go ahead. Tidal.
We just dropped on November 6th. We put out 2 new tracks, Let Love Do and a song called Something Sweet. And it's 2 tracks from the new EP that are out right now that everybody can go listen to. And they are a whole lot of fun. And we hope that you enjoy them.
If people want to keep up with you guys on social media, how can they do that?
Facebook, Instagram, those are the best ways to do it. We're not super active on the Twitters. Our Instagram is probably our most active way. And if you're looking to, if anybody's out there and they're listening and they want to try to find us a gig when all of this stuff ends, you can book us at deadvinyltx@gmail.com. And that's a good way to get a hold of us for this acquisitions.
Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Before we go, I had one more question for you. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio Spotlight before, but I'm a musician and I also love film. And I think the 2 worlds are not that far away from each other. And I feel like musicians have a very soft spot for film. Hayden, specifically, I know you said that you wanted to be making films if you weren't playing music. So, to each of you, before we go, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie?
Yes.
It's called High Fidelity.
Okay.
The one with John Cusack, based off of the Nick Hornby book. Year 2000, I think it came out. Maybe 1999. But it's incredible. 2000. It's just a movie about a lovesick John Cusack, and he's also owns a record store, and it's just a perfect movie, and I love it. Oh, and side answer with a side order of Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's a great one, too.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's changed in a while. My favorite movie is still Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah,
just because it's like kind of a conjunction of all my favorite things, like movie making, music making, comic books, video games. It's all in there, and it's super quotable. And also, the main character is a bass player like me.
It's basically about your life.
Yeah.
Thanks to Dead Vinyl for sitting down with me and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.